Good morning, YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. This is IMAX Sports with another football video, and today I'm going over the biggest Pro Bowl snuffs of the 2020 season. Every single year, everyone always talks about who should have made the Pro Bowl, who did or didn't make the Pro Bowl, and reasons why. And I've wanted to do this video for a couple of weeks, and I've finally gotten around to doing it now that all of the season statistics and everything are decided. So I figured this would be a good video, a fun video to make, and let's get into it. So for some of these players, I will be pinpointing a specific player I believe they should replace because I believe that some players should have gone over specific, like third string players. Other players are just going to be more ambiguous and be like, hey, this player has such a phenomenal season, they should be in the Pro Bowl. So first up is Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor is a rookie on the Indianapolis Colts this season. He had 232 carries for 1,169 yards and 11 touchdowns. He had 36 catches for 299 yards and a touchdown. He was number 2 in the AFC for rushing and scrimmage yards. He had 12 total touchdowns, tied in second, and he had 100 more rushing yards and 40 less carries than Josh Jacobs. So Josh Jacobs is the specific comparison I'm making here because Josh Jacobs was the third string running back for the AFC. I don't think that he should have gotten in over either of the top two spots. But I think that they very well could have looked at Jonathan Taylor versus Josh Jacobs and said, hey, Jonathan Taylor just had an objectively better season. Josh Jacobs carried the ball, averaged 3.6 yards per carry on offense this season versus Jonathan Taylor, who averaged 5 yards per carry. He also had 100 more rushing yards, 60 more receiving yards, and the same amount of touchdowns. I think the overall Jonathan Taylor just had a better season in general. He had more yards per carry. He had more yards. He had more of everything. And I don't know how he missed the Pro Bowl. At number 6, we have J.C. Jackson. And yes, these are in order from who I think was the least likely to make the Pro Bowl to who should have definitely made the Pro Bowl. So number 6 is J.C. Jackson. J.C. Jackson had 40 tackles, 34 solos, 6 assists, 1 tackle for loss, and 3 fumble recoveries. He had 14 passes defended, 9 interceptions for a total of 80 pick return yards. He was second in the NFL for interceptions. He had more passes defended than 3 of the 4 AFC Pro Bowl cornerbacks, and he was the first defensive back with 9 picks in the past 8 seasons, other than Xavier Howard, who also got 10 picks this season. J.C. Jackson, I wouldn't say that he is a guaranteed Pro Bowler this year because of there's more to being a cornerback than just interceptions, and I understand that. But being a Patriots fan and seeing the phenomenal way that J.C. Jackson played this year, I don't understand how he didn't make the Pro Bowl. He had 9 picks, which I believe is at least 6 more than any of the other AFC cornerbacks in the Pro Bowl except for Xavier Howard. He had 14 passes defended, which is more than any other cornerback except for Xavier Howard, and those being 2 of the most important stats for cornerbacks in the NFL. I would think that they would look at those when they pick I know it's voting, so fans are voting, and not everyone that doesn't root for the Patriots doesn't know who J.C. Jackson is. But players also vote, and there's also other factors into putting players in the Pro Bowl. And I'm just a little upset with this one. I think that he definitely deserved it this year, especially because he has 17 interceptions in his first 3 NFL seasons now, averaging 6 picks per season, which never happens. It's only been 3 years, but crazy good numbers from J.C. Jackson. At number 5, we have Hassan Radke. Hassan Radke has 63 total tackles, 43 solo, 20 assists. He has 15 tackles for a loss, 12.5 sacks, 83 yards, 6 forced fumbles, and 16 quarterback hits. He's number 6 in sack yards, number 4 in sacks, number 3 in tackles for a loss, and number 2 in forced fumbles. There's no question here that he deserves to be in the Pro Bowl. Hassan Radke has had a fantastic season, and he's a top player in every single aspect of the game at his position. And I don't understand how he's not in the Pro Bowl right now. I know there are other players. So this is one of the hardest positions for them to choose who gets into the Pro Bowl because there's so many different stats to look at. There's so many different ways the players can play. it's just a very hard position to judge, and not everyone knows all of the different linebackers either. So, with that being said, it's a very hard position for them to get the best players into the Pro Bowl all the time, but it's still disappointing to see someone with such a fantastic season not making the Pro Bowl. At number 4, we have Tom Brady. Tom Brady this season was 401 of 610 for 4,633 yards, 40 touchdowns, 12 picks, and a quarterback rating of 102.2. He had 30 carries for 6 yards and 3 touchdowns, and he's the second player ever to miss the Pro Bowl with 40 touchdowns, the first being Matthew Stafford. He was top 3 in yards and touchdowns this season for quarterbacks. He was top 10 in passer rating. He had more total yards and more total touchdowns than Kyler Murray, and he was 11-5 versus Kyler Murray's 8-8. And I know that most people voted for Kyler Murray when Kyler Murray was hot, but Kyler Murray was very up and down this season. He started off a little slowly, then he had a very good middle of the season, and then he slowed down a lot. And a lot of that slowing down was missed in the Pro Bowl voting. And in the last 2 weeks of the season, Tom Brady got 8 passing touchdowns, and Kyler Murray got 0. And I think that if people were to vote for the Pro Bowl right now, Brady would likely get in. But because of the timing of the Pro Bowl selections, Brady didn't get in. And I'm not saying I'm disappointed, but it's too bad when a player gets 4,600 yards and 40 touchdowns and doesn't make the Pro Bowl. He had a pass rating almost 10 higher than Kyler Murray. He had 14 more passing touchdowns. Murray had 11 rushing yards, but if you look at total touchdowns, Brady had 43 compared to Kyler Murray's 37, which is a 6 touchdown difference. All in all, Tom Brady deserved to be in the Pro Bowl this season over Kyler Murray. Whether or not the timing was right for him to actually get in because of different situations with how the Pro Bowl is selected is irrelevant because he didn't get in, but I think that Tom Brady deserved a Pro Bowl selection this season, much more than last year. Or not last year, but some of the previous seasons that Brady's gotten it, he didn't have 40 touchdowns. And I know that a lot of quarterbacks did very well this season, but 40 touchdowns and not making the Pro Bowl is something else. At number 3, we have Zach Cunningham. Zach Cunningham had 164 total tackles, 106 solo, and 58 assists. He had 8 tackles for a loss, 3 sacks, and 16 sack yards. He had 2 passes defended, 1 forced fumble, and 4 quarterback hits. He does it all. He led the NFL in tackles this season. He led the NFL in solo tackles. He was number 4 for assists, and he was 36 of all time for total tackles with 164. Similar reasons to some of Bobby Wagner's All-Pros. So Bobby Wagner has been a perennial All-Pro linebacker. And Zach Cunningham this season had a very similar season to a lot of Bobby Wagner's best seasons, or some of his All-Pro seasons. And Zach Cunningham didn't even make the Pro Bowl. I don't know how often the tackle leader makes the Pro Bowl, but if you're leading the league in tackles, then you should at least be in the conversation. And it's a shame that Zach Cunningham didn't make it. There are other players that made the Pro Bowl that had less tackles for loss, less total tackles, less sacks, less passes defended, less of everything, less quarterback hits. There was at least one player that had less of every single statistic that still made it into the Pro Bowl. And I know the Pro Bowl isn't completely based off of stats because there's different situations and different game situations that players need to be aware of and that can affect these stats. But I think that as the tackle leader in the NFL, Zach Cunningham deserves a Pro Bowl spot. That's a hard thing to do, especially to be number 36 of all time. I know that 36 of all time doesn't sound like a lot, but if there's been over 100 seasons in the NFL, that's a lot. That's a high number, and it's too bad that he couldn't have made the Pro Bowl this season. And number 2 is Devin White. Devin White had 147 total tackles. He had 97 solo and 43 assists. He had 18 tackles for a loss, 9 sacks, 70 sack yards, 4 passes defended, 1 fumble forced, 1 fumble recovery for 2 yards, and 16 quarterback hits. He's number 5 in total tackles, but has as many sacks as the other 4 combined. So if you add up all of the sacks for the top 4 people for total tackles, they have 10 total sacks. Devin White by himself has 9. And there are 60 more tackle. He has 60 more tackles than any other player with 9 sacks. Jamal Adams has 9 sacks, but he has 93 tackles. 83 tackles, sorry. It's just hard to wrap my head around the fact. So this Devin usually inside linebackers don't get that many sacks. Devin White is a top player in both sacks and tackles this season, and he didn't even get the Pro Bowl. I know what I just said kind of doesn't make a whole lot of sense, so I'm just gonna sum it up a little bit. Inside linebackers are known for total tackles, and that is the biggest thing that they usually get for statistics. That's the easiest statistic to compare and contrast inside linebackers. Outside linebackers get a lot of sacks. Inside linebackers usually do not. Zach Cunningham, for example, has 164 total tackles. He leads the NFL, but he only has 3 sacks. 164 tackles, only 3 sacks on the entire season. Devin White, an inside linebacker, has 9 sacks. And yeah, that's nowhere near league leading. That's in the top 20. But for inside linebackers, he is number 1 by far. No one else is anywhere near him. And the thing is that if you are an inside linebacker, yeah, you're going to get a lot of total tackles, but your sack numbers are supposed to be super low. The only other players that's not anywhere near him were players with 120 tackles or less. They had 4.5 to 7 sacks. No one had anywhere near 9. I mean, that's definitely a record for this season. I don't know how many years it's been since an inside linebacker had 9 sacks, but that's an impressive number. And a lot of people could say, hey, Zach Cunningham doesn't deserve the Pro Bowl because he only had 3 sacks, but that's usually one of the top ends of the position. If you look at the top 5 total tackle leaders in the NFL this season, Devin White is number 5, Zach Cunningham is number 1. Devin White has 9 sacks. The other top 5 combined have 10 total. They average 2 sacks per player. He has 9. So, I don't know how this impacts Pro Bowl voting, but I think that it definitely means a whole lot. And being as well-rounded of a player as Devin White is, with 147 tackles, 18 tackles for a loss, 9 sacks, 4 passes defended, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, and 16 quarterback hits, that deserves some credit. And number 1, of course, we have Robert Tonyan. Robert Tonyan is one of the biggest Pro Bowl snuffs this season, if not for the past few seasons. He had 52 catches on 59 targets for 589 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 11 yards per reception. He was number 1 in receiving touchdowns among tight ends, tied with Travis Kelce. And he was number 5 in overall receiving touchdowns for the entire NFL. Rodgers, when targeting Robert Tonyan, had a quarterback rating of 147.6 this season. 147.6 is an insanely good quarterback rating, especially when targeting one specific player. Devontae Adams, for perspective, had a passer rating of 136 this season when targeted. And Aaron Rodgers is is a quarterback with the highest passer rating in the NFL this season. So if Robert Tonyan is outperforming Devontae Adams in the passer rating category, there's not that many other players in the NFL that have a passer rating that high when targeted. For example, Evan Ingram, the guy who got into the Pro Bowl, Daniel Jones has a 55 passer rating when targeting Evan Ingram. That is 3 times less than Robert Tonyan. And there's not really much else to say. Robert Tonyan has 10 more touchdowns than Evan Ingram this season. And Evan Ingram has, about 30 more yards. So, yeah, Evan Ingram has 30 extra yards on Robert Tonyan, but Tonyan has 10 extra touchdowns. And I would have put Tonyan into the Pro Bowl before T.J. Hawkinson. Yeah, T.J. Hawkinson had 700-something yards, but it's not like league leading for tight ends or anything. There were 2 tight ends with over 1,000. So I don't understand how Robert Tonyan wasn't the starter in the NFC for the Pro Bowl, never mind the backup. I know the Pro Bowl is a little arbitrary compared to other awards. It's voted on by the players and the fans, and a little bit of stuff from other places. I'm not really sure how it works, but it ends up being very arbitrary. And it's too bad when fantastic players like Devin White and Robert Tonyan don't get into the Pro Bowl because they didn't get voted. And it's a weird award. It's a weird thing. And it's really too bad because Robert Tonyan deserved a Pro Bowl this season. Another example, J.C. Jackson. Stephon Gilmore made the Pro Bowl. I'm a Patriots fan. I don't think that Stephon Gilmore deserved the Pro Bowl. I think J.C. Jackson deserved the Pro Bowl. But Stephon Gilmore and Tre'Davious White are perennial Pro Bowlers. They had like 3 total interceptions combined between the two of them. J.C. Jackson had 3 times that alone. You need to make the Pro Bowl. I don't understand how the Pro Bowl works, but it doesn't make any sense to me. With that being said, I do think that at least 80 to 90% of the players who make the Pro Bowl deserve it, and I do think that at least 95% of the players that don't make the Pro Bowl don't deserve to make the Pro Bowl. But there are always every year a select few players. This year, in my opinion, there are 7 that had fantastic, phenomenal seasons, deserved to make the Pro Bowl, and were just snuffed. And that's what this video is all about. So, hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to let me know in the comments below who you guys think was snuffed out of the Pro Bowl this year and who you guys would like to see in the Pro Bowl next season. I really appreciate all the support on the channel. We're getting so close to 800 subscribers, so if you guys hit that subscribe button down below, if you're new to the channel, that would be a big help. Thank you guys all for all the support. I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace out.